To Devon Cone, a senior advocate for women and girls at Refugees International. Devon, it's always a pleasure to have you on. I wanted to ask you about, if I can find the right piece of paperwork, this latest report from CBS News says that the Trump administration is seeking to cancel thousands of asylum cases and the applicants can be deported to third countries. Have you heard that this report is being given on CBS?
I have actually not heard that report yet, but I'm not surprised because what we're seeing, what your reporter just talked about, was the last 12 months of just, horrific policies and procedures to get people out of this country, even people that are legally here. So, I'm not surprised by that, but I think that's certainly a really terrible thing, and it's also not American.
How dangerous, I'm not sure if dangerous is the right word, but how nerve-wracking is it to be a foreign-speaking, non-white person in the United States these days?
Well, let me tell you, I've heard from many of those people who don't feel comfortable speaking. I mean, they're not on these programs all the time because they don't feel comfortable speaking. They don't feel comfortable being in this environment. They don't feel comfortable being, at risk of ICE agents arresting or deporting them when they are not, some of them are even American citizens. So I think it's very scary for them. And let me be very clear, this is not about open borders or no enforcement. We absolutely need border security and clear rules, and people should have a lawful way to stay or they should leave. But what Trump is doing is not enforcement. It's cruelty. I mean, we've seen that over and over again. And he's even dismantling these legal pathways and punishing people who have followed the rules, which definitely makes the system more chaotic, not safer or more secure.
Let me just quote some more figures for the viewers. More than 80% of the immigrants arrested in the sweep in Washington didn't have a prior criminal record. That's the government's own data. There was a six-fold increase of arrests of immigrants with no criminal record during that Washington sweep. In Chicago, only 15% of immigrants who were detained had a prior criminal conviction. Only 3% had prior convictions for violent crime. It's almost the same for Chicago and all the other cities. So therefore, this is political.
Well, yes. I mean, Trump told us another story, and his administration certainly told us another story, and that is not what's occurring. So unless people are really digging into these facts, they don't know that it's not criminals that are being deported. And what's really troubling is they're taking away, even like I said, legal status from people and claiming that people have broken the law when they haven't broken the law and they are only not legally in the country because Trump has revoked their status. So, he's going in circles trying to make a case for these terrible policies and for this cruel enforcement that, quite honestly, no Americans want. I mean, the majority of Americans, we've polled Americans, the majority of Americans do not want enforcement this way. We can enforce our laws without being cruel.
How can Refugees International help in this environment?
Well, what Refugees International is doing is speaking out. We are an advocacy and policy organization, so we are speaking out to share the facts of what's really happening, but also providing policy solutions, providing an affirmative view of migration, trying to, provide Congress and others who are making decisions or who would listen, providing them with some solutions as to how we can, control migration, but do so in a dignified, orderly fashion that doesn't create these images that we're seeing and these stories of just brutality and cruelty.
I'd ask you about civilizational erasure, Devon, but I don't want to put you in that kind of difficult position because it's really quite political. Many people around the world have said this is Donald Trump setting up some kind of white supremacist philosophy. So let's not even go there. It's very, very bizarre. So rather tell me how encouraged you are, because you mentioned about people and their support for these operations. They started out as being popular, but now the tide seems to be turning.
Well, yes, I think they're seeing their neighbors, their friends, their community members being taken away, sent to these, like you said, third countries. I mean, that makes no sense and is just, not what people really want to see. And for what you said in the beginning, I think, we can't determine what Donald Trump is doing or why he is doing it. But at this point, it looks like Trump doesn't want any immigration at all, legal or otherwise. So whatever his purpose is, that I don't know, but, with the notable exception, of course, for that immigration, that is his own family. So the U.S. can enforce its laws without abandoning, dignity, fairness, or basic humanity. And that's the choice in front of all of us, no matter who we voted for. So again, I think that most people who voted for Donald Trump did not expect things to go this far or to go in this direction. And it's not that we don't need enforcement, but we need enforcement according to our laws that is legal and that is fair.
Devon Cone, thank you very much indeed for your time.